Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay. So this is a little picture of my university's campus, and it's Gyeongin National University of Education, and it's one of Korea's most prominent universities of education, nurturing elementary school teachers. And it's recognized as top excellent university of education and top excellent graduate school of education by the Ministry of Education. The president of my university would be pleased to hear this. And we have secured the grants, major grants from the National Research Foundation of Korea for the National Universities Innovation Programs. And so that was the short introduction of my university. And my presentation today is based on a chapter that I wrote with two of my colleagues, Yeonju Oh and Ami Kim, for the book. The cover is here, which is nice, I think. This book came out in March this year. The title of the book is Learning to Live with Datafication, Educational Case Studies and Initiatives from Across the World. And it was edited by Professor Julian Sefton Green, who actually introduced me to Jennifer, and also Dr. Lucy Pangruzio. And two of them are based at Deakin University in Australia, which is one of the node of Center of Digital Child in Australia, which I'm attached to. And my work in this book and today's research that I'm going to present is a part of international collaboration with my Belgian scholars and friends and practitioners. And so our Korean chapter is in number 9, and the previous chapter, the chapter 8, is the Belgian colleagues' case study, which inspired us our research. And this book is available at the UBC library that I checked. So if you're interested, you can read. And just as a background, as in many other countries, this research was conducted as a response to pedagogical challenges faced by media educators on how to unravel the hidden algorithmic practices in classroom settings. So the recent survey shows, I'm not going to give the whole details of the whole numbers, but South Korean teens used YouTube apps for like 2,812 minutes in January this year. Last year, there is roughly 90 minutes a day. And also others in their 40s and 50s use YouTube apps more than the teens and in their 20s and 30s. So these are why we became interested in the YouTube usage. Yeah. And as YouTube has become the most popular social media platform and is used as a source of news, education, entertainment, and learning, it is important for wider social and political purposes to interrogate how YouTube designers and developers mediate content through algorithmic practices. So how this international collaborative research began and still going on in some way. So in the bottom, there are the universities and institutions and organizations involved in this project are listed. And so there were Belgian scholars, 2 scholars, 3 scholars, and 2 practitioners, and there were more South Korean people. So this the international scholars and educators in Belgium and South Korea closely collaborated for 2 years to develop a media literacy education program designed for a critical understanding of the recommendation algorithm of YouTube. So this collaboration began when 2 Korean researchers, including myself, participated in the year 2018 Media Education Summit in Hong Kong, where the Belgian researchers Jerry Jacques and Anne-Sophie Collard presented the development and implementation of a media education game called In the Shoes of an Algorithm for high school students. And I got fascinated and because at the time I didn't know where to start, and I was really pleased. And I think that was the purpose of having an international conference. And we have learned so much from this international collaborative research, so we decided to continue to develop critical pedagogy of media education by connecting infrastructures of digital media with users' interactions and content. So we'll be united in Vancouver at the same conference next year in Simon Fraser University. So we are going to present as a tentative research proposal. So in a conversation session, so interface at the core of media education. So this is our title, and bringing more colleagues and doctoral students. And so as a background, you might have similar or some different experiences through during the COVID-19 pandemic about schooling. And the COVID-19 pandemic has hastened in South Korea the era of digital transformation, and now digital by default seems to have become the new normal. As remote work, distance learning, and screen-based communications become normalized due to the social distancing policy, digital media have made a greater impact on all aspects of our lives, and South Korea is no exception. So these are the pictures what happened during the COVID-19. And I'm quite curious about what you might think of this, but this is the vision for the 2022 revised national curriculum by the Ministry of Education in South Korea. So this big picture was announced last year. So in South Korea, the revision process of the national curriculum has been going on for the last 2 years, coincidentally with the COVID-19. And as you can see in this slide, the vision for future education pictures the digital technology-based education as the way forward. So use of digital textbooks, ebooks, and information on the internet is encouraged. And communication and collaboration with peers and mentors in other schools, domestic or worldwide, are emphasized. So all the idealized slogans are coming right into the national curriculum. So remote meetings inviting domestic overseas experts in the online classes, as well as remote learning, connecting with universities, research institutes, and local governments are idealized as the vision for the revised national curriculum. So Ben Williams' book in 2017 already raised the issue of datafication in schools. So media education scholar David Buckingham, who was my supervisor during my doctoral studies, wrote a review of this book in his blog. I would strongly recommend his blog. It's very insightful. The presence of educational technology is not new. I quote, "What is new is that the business model of social media is increasingly being applied in schools. It's no longer just about the selling of equipment or learning materials. It's about the gathering and management of the data for profit. Within the wider economy of social media, or what is being termed platform capitalism, data has become the new oil, and schools are increasingly productive wells to be mined. User data is a commodity that is being gathered, analyzed, and traded for immense profit. In education, as in social media that can be sold and more broadly, these companies appear to be offering or donating free services, yet what they later charge. Yeah, yeah, they are doing so in exchange for data that can be sold on to third parties, raising private issues that apply not just to children, but also to parents and teachers. And in this way, critical algorithm literacy can be applied not only to the critical understanding of the social media and digital platforms, but also of the everyday schooling experiences in which children and young people are being datafied by the educational media. Yeah, so school is not a safe place anymore. And so what about digital literacy? So digital literacy, in terms of the digital literacy, I think Canada and particularly British Columbia and Ontario are the world leaders. Yeah, so you should be proud. But in South Korean context, educational responses to datafication come from two main primary perspectives. So the protectionist and the functional. Education from the protectionist perspectives aim to enhance the ability to protect the personal data, both of the individual and others. So data protection education began in the early year 2000 and as a part of the state-led initiative to strengthen information and communication ethics, referring to the basic principles and behaviors regarding emerging phenomena in the information society. So in the late 2010s, as the need for the new civic consciousness emerged along with the rise of digital transformation, the ability to protect personal data started to be treated as an element of digital citizenship. While information and communication ethics education focuses on individual consciousness and behaviors, digital citizenship education expands its scope to appreciate participation and praxis for wider communities. However, the content of education under both terms were not fundamentally different in South Korea, in that the protectionist perspective pervades digital citizenship education. So we call it digital citizenship education, but it's basically data protection. On your own. Yeah. And education from the functional perspective underscores technical data skills such as data mining, analysis, and visualization. The emergence of big data in the early 2010s and the discourses surrounding the fourth industrial revolution and artificial intelligence in the mid 2010s triggered the need to cultivate human resources equipped with data competency. So as a result, the Ministry of Education has gradually introduced coding curricula to the national education system since 2018 and plans to implement an AI curriculum by 2025 fully. So our model is China. As the national curriculum standards are applied without school or local level autonomy, all students in the public education system are expected to learn how to code as a part of the national curriculum. But in South Korean educational elementary schools, 5th and 6th graders aged 10 to 12 learn computer programming in the practical course curriculum, mainly focusing on the algorithm as a way of procedural thinking to solve given problems. So how to make like noodles. So there is a procedure, and like this, you boil water and put ingredients and things like that. And so these are the procedural thinking, and now it's called computational thinking. So students might learn where and how software might be used in daily lives, why software might be significant, and have hands-on programming experiences. And for hands-on programming experiences, children might be given a problem to solve, asked to divide it into pieces and then set the order. So to make a procedure such as in this flow chart to solve it step by step. So the focus is on experiencing the thinking process that can be used according to the problem-solving procedures. So finally, children have experience creating a simple program they usually make just like shooting games and things like that. And using block-based programming language such as MIT Media Lab Scratch or the domestic one, Naver Connect Foundation's entry program. So as the course underscores technical aspects of algorithms, it is hardly related to media literacy education. I don't know you have come across with this report, but it's titled like, Talent for the Future, AI Education for K-12 in Canada and South Korea. And this is one of the exemplary reports that promotes the full adoption of AI education in all K-12 schools in South Korea. And this is not a good report. I don't want to recommend you to read, but it's just says, oh, like Canada is great for its digital literacy, but actually it doesn't deal with AI education, so we could do better and things like that. So, it's a little annoying. So there is a danger in the current functional and technical approach to AI education in that AI can make a better, fairer, and more efficient decisions than humans. But the algorithm needs to be learned not just as a technical and functional skills, but needs to be critically understood as a part of the digital environment, which has biases as a part of the media. There have been many reports on the algorithmic biases, and the UK's A-level examination was one of them. So the Wired's, you might have come across with all this, yeah? The Wired article rightly pointed out that this is only the beginning. More algorithmic decision-making and decision augmenting systems will be used in the coming years. Unlike the approach taken for A-levels, future systems may include opaque AI-led decision-making. Despite such risks, there remain no clear picture of how public sector bodies, government, local councils, police forces, and more are using algorithmic systems for decision-making. What is known about their use is often piecemeal or compiled by individual researchers. So my question was how children's awareness of the algorithmic practices could begin in classrooms in more simple ways. Yeah. So I will just go to skip this one. And media literacy education aims to help students critically reflect on their use of media and understand the role and influence of media technology in their lives. With a rapid increase in the use of personalized digital media devices and social media, user data produced by individuals have contributed to creating algorithmic aiming to personalize the content on digital platforms. So therefore, a critical understanding of a digital technology in media literacy education needs to be extended to recommendation algorithms to examine the designer's social cultural values and economic intentions. So in the shoes of an algorithm, the game developed by Belgian researchers and practitioners pursues such a goal by encouraging students to understand how the recommendation algorithms work and how they affect the encounters that users have with YouTube. The Korean research team, including myself, found that the Belgian game would have significant implications for developing concrete models of media literacy education that enable children and adolescents to be aware of how digital platforms might operate. In particular, we found the Belgian game as excellent defamiliarizing strategy that gave students a fresh and alternative view of YouTube, one which is not apparent to the typical user. So the original Belgian game had a different goal and method that it was applied for high school students. So the Belgian game aimed to create an algorithm that would most appeal to the YouTube CEO. So you imagine there is a YouTube CEO and engineers, and your mission is to please them by making the best algorithm. Yeah. So students were provided with raw data on YouTube users as well as videos and asked them to analyze the data set. So for 2 hours, they were divided into 3 groups. So one group was given about the profile of the users, and another group were given how this user was interacting with other users, and the other groups were given just the video of YouTube. So, and then they, based on their own data sets, they were making the formula for algorithm. And then after 1 hour, they meet all together, and then they have to negotiate to make a formula. But I thought that was fantastic, but too difficult for elementary school students because they don't have the mathematical skills. So, the South Korean program was designed for upper elementary students. As I said earlier, these elementary school students are already using heavily YouTube videos. And so they need to begin to understand more critically about the YouTube. But they are not going to be able to make an excellent algorithm. So how we can begin? So that was our question. So we wanted to use more old-fashioned ways. So in adapting the Belgian game, the priority was making the program simpler so that upper elementary students could participate. So having students take the role of an engineer remains central to the adapted version. However, it seemed difficult for young children to create an algorithm based on a data analysis. So considering the level of mathematical competence, and drawing the criteria for recommending videos and creating a formula by weighting the criteria was also tricky. So therefore, it was decided that the South Korean version would focus on ranking the order of the videos to recommend to possible users by placing video cards on a board and rearranging them according to the ranking based on students' criteria, and then debriefing the reasons for doing so. So it's more like more similar to the traditional ways we did when we ask the students to respond to a particular text and then have a good discussions. Yeah. So we also decided to visualize the data in order for students to grasp elements involved in YouTube's recommendation algorithm and easily participate in the task of selecting criteria for recommendation. So therefore, we used a strategy of constructing 2 kinds of data sets. The first data set is a persona. So persona is a concept, as you all know, introduced by Alan Cooper, referring to a fictional character representing a specific group of users. The persona in this program is a character that students may consider as their own selves. And the second data set is 9 videos, video cards with relevant information such as thumbnail, title, description, the number of views, likes, subscribers, and upload time, which could be taken as the criteria for recommendation. So while the Belgian game provides the participants with 20 music videos recommended to 1 male and 1 female user respectively, only 1 fictional user and 9 video cards were presented in the South Korean program. So we searched the latest popular YouTube videos and channels and asked elementary students about their preferred content to select YouTube videos. So video cards were made to provide students with information for the recommendation criteria to read the basic information presented on the card about the content and use it as a criteria for recommendation without having to play each video on a digital device. So in the Belgium game. The students were allowed to play the music videos, or they had the kind of assumption that they already know about the music videos, but we thought some students would not be familiarized with certain contents. So the critical algorithm literacy program was piloted in the after-school care program in the fifth grade, age 10 to 11. The program consists of relatively more structured activities that elementary school students can quickly complete. However, the teacher was advised to minimize direct intervention as much as possible so that the students could share their experiences, discuss the information presented in the given data, and select criteria that can be considered when recommending the videos. So in the pilot study, 6 female and 2 male students participate. They were given 1 persona card and 9 YouTube video cards. So the YouTube video was recommended for the persona Kim Min-ho, a fictional character, included various genres, whereas the Belgian games used music videos only. So each video cards were composed of thumbnails, length, title, creator, number of views, upload time, brief description. So the languages in the video included both English and Korean. The activities for this program were reading video cards, exploring persona, discussing criteria for recommendation and ranking video cards, meeting an imaginary YouTube engineer, and reflecting on the whole activity. So this picture shows how the children were asked to read the video cards. The teacher encouraged the children to be aware of what they can see and know about the thumbnails and basic information of selected YouTube videos. The children pulled out a few YouTube video cards and looked at them, interpreting information on the cards. Then the teacher presented a specific persona and presented the task by saying, you should recommend a YouTube video to this persona. The children looked at the persona card and analyzed information. Then the teacher asked the students to display the video cards that they were recommended to the persona through discussion. Then the children talked about what videos they would like to recommend to the persona. At this time, the children shared opinions with the peers about information or criteria that should be considered important when recommending videos. Together, all participating children arranged YouTube video cards in the order of ranking of recommendations. So I captured several pictures from the video taken during the activities to show how the children discussed and made the collective decisions. So they just use these green blackboard to display their decisions. And so actually I made the videos translating to analyze more of the process with Jennifer. But because of the students' privacy, so I can play the whole, but I just captured some. So I would like to know what you think as the crucial parts of the activities, maybe, and what made possible for these children to think critically in a collective way in this room with the teacher and with these pen and paper activities to figure out the digital media. Yeah. So the children discussed when video cards should be ranked higher and why they think so, and negotiate their thoughts. So we can hear the children saying, so since it's got a lot of votes, should I put this up? And like that. Yeah. And so actually, if you can see their faces, they are so cute. And Overwatch and sports are the most. So I think Overwatch would be better and things like that. And oh, this is not it.
What is Overwatch?
It's a computer games title. Yes, yeah. Yeah, and I would like to exchange the order between these two, like that. Yeah, and that's right, like that. Yeah. So, so these kind of discussion went on like 7 minutes, and but before that, they were given enough time to read the information from the video cards. So finally, the teacher invited all the children who participated to review their activities and explain how they negotiate the ranking of the recommendation criteria. Assuming that the children have met an imaginary YouTube engineer, teacher tells them what they thought was important when deciding the order in the process of discussing the criteria for recommending videos. Lastly, students shared what they felt through these activities. So in the process of adapting the Belgian game for upper elementary students in the South Korean context, researchers, teachers, and media activists closely collaborated to design the pedagogy through a series of structured activities in order to guide and facilitate exploring, questioning, listening, communicating, and negotiating as group activities. And actually, my university is not a research university, it's more teaching university. So it's I feel quite challenged when I want to have more thorough research. So I kind of developed a way of collaborating with other people outside my universities in the local community, or with more like government-led research organizations and things like that. So it takes a long time, but it was quite interesting, and it was quite fun. And first, in discussing the criteria for selecting videos to recommend for the persona, the children showed their thoughts and reflections from various perspectives on the factors that influence their favorite YouTube content as YouTube users. Children were given information about a fictional character named Kim Min-ho, and then so they so for example, his most recent search terms were online game related terms like Brawl Stars strategy and Overwatch skin, and soccer related ones like Tottenham Champion League. And when deciding which content should be recommended to Minho, the persona, some students tend to choose content related to Minho's search terms, while others suggested recommending content that they, as teenagers, prefer. So I prefer this, and Minho would like to prefer this, and things like that. So in addition, in light of their YouTube viewing experience, the children carefully examined and discussed whether the length of the video was appropriate. So oh, this is too short and this is too long, and so he's not going to watch it, and like that. So when deciding which content to recommend to Minho, children suggested that 10 to 50 minutes is the appropriate amount of time to watch one clip on YouTube. They argue that if the content length is longer than 15 minutes, they tend not to watch the whole clip and rather skip it through. So in this process, as YouTube users, we could get a glimpse into what the children judged to be the right length. So other than that, students considered whether the language of the content is in Korean or English, and whether it is content that is not a topic of interest, but may be curious in the light of the persona search terms and viewing experience presented. So some students said, oh, because that was the search terms for this persona, and then we should recommend in line with that. But some other students said, because these persona didn't search these terms, so that's why we should recommend the other ones to have a balance and things like that. So the way students approach the game has ample implications for media education. It suggests that media education dealing with algorithms or data literacy helps students understand how the YouTube recommendation algorithms works and allows students to discuss the criteria they value themselves as media users. So in that sense, they can imagine what would be the better algorithm. Yeah. So secondly, after going through the previous processes, the children had the opportunity to think like an engineer who make an algorithm for YouTube. The focus of this activity is to experience the way recommendation algorithm works on the digital platforms visited daily. So here, the critical algorithm literacy program helped students think through how data works in recommending and arranging media content. So imagine like you are supposed to pick a book from a bookshelf, and who put all these books in this bookshelf, and why certain books are not here, and why certain books are here, and so things like that. So as mentioned earlier, Korean elementary school students are learning algorithms focusing on computer logic and procedural thinking. So we wanted to come up with different ideas of approaching algorithms in schools. Yeah. So it's more about we need more like we need platform imaginaries. I'm not going to go all the details. So therefore, the concept of media content needs to be expanded. So media education in the digital environment needs to enhance the perspective of the political economy to understand how content is produced, distributed, and consumed beyond content-focused education. So a critical understanding of media content is still essential. However, if media education is a critical understanding of media, it is also essential to explore the political and economic factors that affect the environment. Digital data can be considered as a text for data literacy as a part of critical literacy. This expanded concept of media content can provide the starting points where children begin to unfamiliarize the familiar texts in the media experiences. So Livingston and Polizzi emphasize that media literacy should pay more attention to the role of digital technology and that it is crucial to understand how black boxed automation systems might make differentiated choices. It is found that children thought that their privacy is essential in their studies. In a datafied society in which our lives in public and commercial contexts are transformed into digital data stored, used, and misused by technology giants such as Google, digital literacy should expand to data literacy that includes a critical understanding of data. Actually, Google provides quite good digital literacy programs, but they don't deal with this critical element of digital literacy. The critical algorithm literacy program needs to expand media education to understand the digital media industry based on the concept of digital literacy from a social-cultural perspective, including a critical understanding of the impact of digital media companies that process and use user data on individuals and society. So this study showed that the pedagogy could be developed to raise awareness of critical understanding of YouTube algorithms for children and the need for critical algorithm literacy education as a new approach to media education in the age of the digital platform. And in this way, this international collaborative research made us realize the important role of research in arguing for critical approach to learn about digital media. So this is the last slide. So I'm going to throw the questions for future research and practice in critical pedagogy and media education and learning sciences more broadly. So I'm going to wrap up my presentation by asking these three questions. So how can we use the old-fashioned pen and paper-based simulation game and activities to explore how algorithms might operate in the digital media more broadly? So can we expand and apply this to TikTok and things like that? And how could we develop more meaningful, creative, and fun games to help children and young people learn how to read multiple digital text and data critically, not feeling threatened or overwhelmed by the digital technology itself? Would it be possible for children to interact with their teachers and peers in a critical and dialogic manner like this without being physically present in the classroom? This is my big question, actually. And the last question in particular is the one that I'm exploring with Jennifer, my wonderful host at UBC, in relation to her research interest in placemaking in learning. So actually, 2 weeks ago, I joined your place-based literacy webinar from Zoom, and it was really wonderful and insightful. And I think you are exploring how place can be related to our identities and meaning making. So you are more interested in the land in a way. That was my impression, but I'm more interested in the place, classroom, physical classroom as a place where learning can really happen. So like others might be okay to learn through Zoom or like that, but I'm not so sure whether young children can really learn in online settings when critical literacy needs a lot of trust and also lots of experience and sharing the experience. And you have to know about the people who you are talking to. And so I'm in a way quite skeptical whether this kind of learning can happen solely online. So that's my big question. And I would like to hear your responses. Thank you very much.
Thank you.